I went to pick up my son and ran into Dawson, my ex from 5 years ago. We hadn't even caught up yet when my son came out with his little class group. Larkin was still holding hands tightly with one of his little friends. I found it kind of funny, he'd only started at this place for a short time, and he was already so familiar with the other kids. I walked past Dawson toward Larkin. Larkin. The moment Larkin saw me, he turned to say something to the little friend beside him, then spun around and ran toward me. The little friend followed, diving straight into Dawson's arms. "Uncle." I froze for a second. What a coincidence. Larkin wrapped his little arms around my leg, his big, sparkling eyes looking up at me. "Dad!" If I wasn't mistaken, Dawson's expression darkened. I looked away and picked up Larkin. "Larkin, you're so happy. Did you make a new friend?" Larkin's cheeks were rosy. Hum. He grabbed my face and gave me a big smacking kiss, then pointed at the kid in Dawson's arms. "Dad, his name is Malin." Malin was a bit shy, but still politely greeted me, "Hello, Uncle." With a kid this well-behaved, I couldn't hide my smile. "Hello, Malin." Malin shyly buried his face back into Dawson's chest, then peeked up at me again. I smiled and glanced at Dawson. But his face showed nothing, as if he hadn't even noticed me. I felt a bit helpless. Our breakup had been amicable, so why was his look like he was staring at an enemy? Since he was Larkin's classmate's uncle, I figured I should at least say hi. But Dawson just held Malin and walked away. Malin looked a little confused but still leaned on his uncle's shoulder, waving goodbye. I blinked, ignored the awkward feeling, and held Larkin as we headed home. Larkin buckled himself in and nibbled on the little bread I'd bought him. "Dad, that uncle looks really familiar." I glanced at him while driving. Larkin says all handsome uncles look familiar. Larkin frowned and swallowed his bread. "That's not true." Then he furrowed his brows, thinking seriously for a few seconds before adding solemnly, "Although that uncle is really handsome." This little rascal made me laugh. He kept munching while asking, "Dad, can I see that uncle again?" I couldn't help but chuckle, he was such a little flirt. But I shook my head gently. Probably not. Judging by how Dawson looked at me. Poor Larkin was probably disappointed. In fact, it turned out the opposite. After that, whenever I went to pick up Larkin, I almost always ran into Dawson. I had to admit, he really was a good uncle. Larkin, being outgoing, would always hold Malin's hand leaving preschool, flashing a big smile and shouting, "Uncle." And sure enough, he'd run straight into Dawson's arms. "Uncle, guess what? Malin got praised by the teacher today. His block tower was amazing." Malin buried his head shyly. Larkin kept bragging happily. "Really?" Even though Dawson was distant toward me, he was gentle with the kids. "What about Larkin? I bet the teacher praised you too." Seeing the small smile tug at Dawson's lips, I felt a sudden daze. He really does look better when he smiles. We ended up carrying the kids into a cake shop together. A little awkward, sure, but mostly harmonious. The two kids had planned to buy cakes together, and we were just accompanying them. "What flavor do you like, Larkin?" Dawson set him down so he could pick. Larkin grinned. "Uncle, can you guess what I like?" I put Malin down and asked him too. "And you, Malin?" Malin held my hand and pointed at a strawberry cupcake. I ruffled his hair and picked it up. Dawson paused for a few seconds. "Vanilla?" Larkin wagged his finger, triumphant. "Wrong, Uncle. I like chocolate." I stayed neutral while handing the cupcakes to the kids. Dawson seemed to have just guessed casually. Larkin added, "Vanilla is Dad's favorite." Dawson nodded lightly. "Yeah, I know." The kids didn't notice anything, but the atmosphere between Dawson and me grew tense. I didn't quite know what he meant. His attitude made it clear, he didn't want to engage. I wasn't about to force it. We didn't exchange another word until it was time to part ways. Dawson carried Malin to his car. He opened the door, paused for a few seconds, then looked back at us. I grabbed Larkin's little hand. "Larkin, say goodbye to Uncle." Larkin waved goodbye, but Dawson didn't leave right away. I sighed and turned to go. Finally, Dawson spoke. "How have you been?" I looked at him steadily and smiled softly. "Pretty good." Later, I didn't see Dawson much. When I finally ran into him again, it had been a month or two. That day, Larkin had invited Malin over to play. Originally, I was going to wait for his parent to arrive and ask if he could come over. But to my surprise, it was Dawson who showed up. I pressed my lips together. "Dinner together?" I braced myself for a refusal, but he agreed. At home, I pulled out new slippers for them, since the shoe rack only had mine and Larkin's. Dawson glanced at the rack, slipped on a pair, and stepped inside. The moment they were in, Larkin grabbed Malin's hand and ran to his room, eager to play with the new toys. That left only Dawson and me in the living room. He rolled up his sleeves and washed his hands, apparently planning to cook. I hesitated, thinking about his previous kitchen disasters, and said, maybe I should do it. Dawson shook his hand and gave me the first smile I'd seen from him in months. "I've learned to cook now." And he wasn't lying. He cooked properly, and the food even tasted good. I looked at him with genuine surprise. "This is delicious." A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. My mood was surprisingly good. I went to call the kids to the table. Knowing Dawson had helped, Larkin nearly showered him with praise at the dinner table. After the meal, the kids played a bit more before Malin had to go home. Larkin pouted, insisting on seeing the guest out. I couldn't help laughing. Larkin dashed to the door but froze for a second and then exclaimed, "Grandpa! You're here." They lived in the same neighborhood as us. Occasionally, after dinner walks, they would come by to see their little grandson. Dawson happened to run into them. My dad paused, hesitating. "Dawson?" Dawson opened his mouth but finally said, "Hello, uncles." "Ah," Dad replied, glancing at us and then at Malin in Dawson's arms. "You?" I jumped in. "He's Larkin's classmate." I invited them over. Both sides exchanged polite greetings. I then saw Dawson out the door. Back home, Dad frowned and looked at me with concern. "You and Dawson?" I knew what he wanted to ask but shook my head. "Nothing, just a coincidence." Dad nodded, satisfied. They sat for a while and then left. After putting Larkin to bed, I remembered what Dad had said before leaving. After all these years, if you still like him, maybe give it another try. I stared at Larkin's chubby little face. Setting aside my own feelings, Dawson probably wouldn't want to. And I had Larkin, would he accept a child who wasn't his? 5 years ago, Dawson and I broke up. There were no huge principles at stake, no explosive fights. We were just too young to balance things properly. We spent an entire afternoon talking on the balcony, and in the end, parted ways. After that, I threw myself into my life, pushing myself to exhaustion every day. On top of that, Dad's health was poor, and mine took a hit too. Eventually, Dad insisted I go for a checkup. The tests revealed I was pregnant, but the pregnancy had already stopped developing a week earlier. I don't even remember how I got through that period. Looking back, all I feel is numbness. Larkin's arrival finally pulled me out of it. This tiny little boy had been abandoned in a trash bin near a hospital. He was crying when I found him, but when I picked him up, he smiled at me. He was still fragile, and I couldn't trust the hospital to take care of him. So I adopted him. And I've raised him ever since. Larkin rolled over and grabbed my hand lying on the edge of the bed. "Dad!" I melted completely. Forget it. Some things were better left to take their natural course. "Hello, Uncle Dawson." Larkin had completely warmed up to him. Dawson scooped up the two kids, one in each arm. "Hey Larkin, did you have fun at preschool today?" Larkin took the candy Dawson gave him, grinning widely. He tore a piece and handed it to Malin. "Being with Malin makes me really happy." Dawson teased him. "And being with Uncle isn't fun?" Larkin happily munched on the candy. "Being with Uncle, Dad's happy." I twitched at that and reached to pull him onto my lap. What was this little rascal saying? Dawson couldn't help but smile. "Really?" Larkin held onto my neck, frowning thoughtfully. Yes. Being with Uncle makes Larkin happy." Dawson didn't take Malin home right away today. He glanced at me several times, hesitating to speak. I sighed and asked first, "Anything else?" Dawson pressed his lips together. Larkin's alpha dad is so irresponsible. He frowned, as if realizing he shouldn't have said that. After a pause, he continued, "I've never seen him come to pick up Larkin." This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. Please credit when sharing. I'd never told him about my current situation. Explaining it to an ex would have been weird. But before I could say anything, Larkin spoke up. His mouth full of candy from Dawson, his words were muffled. "Uncle Dawson, I don't have a dad." Dawson froze, clearly not expecting this. From his expression, I could tell he was already imagining a dozen dramatic scenarios. I reassured him, "We'll talk about it another time." Dawson set Malin in the car, then pinched Larkin's little cheek. Larkin leaned forward with a bright smile. "Brooks, a new hot pot place opened nearby. You used to love it, want to check it out?" That counted as an invitation. Larkin's eyes sparkled, and he jumped in before I could. "Sure, Uncle Dawson. I'll be busy visiting Grandpa this weekend, so Dad will be lonely alone." I tapped his forehead gently. "You little rascal, didn't ask me if I wanted to." Larkin giggled. "So, Dad, do you want to?" I looked at Larkin, then at Dawson, and couldn't help smiling. "All right, see you this weekend." A small smile tugged at Dawson's lips. He ruffled Larkin's little head. "Larkin, want Uncle to bring you a chocolate cake tomorrow?" When I got home with this little rascal, he was still buzzing with excitement. I waved at him from the sofa. Larkin came running over and flopped onto my lap. Hee, Dad." Seeing him like this made me laugh. I raised an eyebrow. "Do you really like Uncle Dawson that much?" At that, Larkin wiggled his chubby little finger. He even tried to imitate a dramatic pose from TV, looking very serious. "Dad, you don't understand." I laughed. This little bean actually told me I didn't understand. I propped my head on my hand. "Then can you tell me, Larkin, what exactly I don't understand?" Larkin couldn't keep up the act. He stayed on my lap, resting his hands on his cheeks, eyes sparkling. "Dad! I've met Uncle Dawson before." I was caught off guard. We'd only moved back to this city a few months ago. How could he have met Dawson? Probably someone who looked like him. Seeing my disbelief, Larkin made a little square with his fingers. "It was a photo, Dad. It was in that little metal box you used to have." "Ah, I got it. All my old photos were kept in that box. Somehow, he must have found it." I pinched his chubby little cheeks. "You, always liking anyone who's handsome." Larkin rubbed his face. "No. It's because you like him, Dad, so I like him too." I blinked. "Do I like him?" "Maybe." I kissed his little cheek. "But having you is enough for me." Larkin giggled and hugged my face. "I just want Dad to be happier. Seeing Uncle Dawson makes Dad happy." Larkin had always been thoughtful, but I hadn't expected him to say something like that. My heart melted. This little guy was a real treasure. I pressed my head against his belly. "Larkin, how are you so lovable?" He laughed while pushing me gently. Dad, ticklish. That weekend, after dropping Larkin off at my dad's place, I went to meet Dawson. The restaurant was pretty good. I tossed the ingredients into the pot. Larkin doesn't like vegetables much when we eat hot pot, he just wants meat. Dawson topped off our drinks. No wonder he's chubby. Healthy-looking kid. I shook my head with a smile. Yeah, it's hard to imagine. When I first found him, he was half the size of other newborns. Dawson paused, hesitating. Found? I nodded. Yeah. I adopted Larkin. Once the topic was open, we started talking. We shared bits about our lives, catching up. The only thing I didn't mention was the child I was expecting. After the meal, Dawson drove me home. At the street corner, he suddenly reached to touch my head. I stayed still, watching him quietly. He picked up a fallen leaf. It fell on you. Thanks. He looked at me, then averted his eyes. Brooks, can we see each other more often? I sighed quietly. So he could be restrained with words too. Of course. Besides, Larkin really likes you. And you? Dawson still didn't look at me. I opened my mouth, but he cut me off. It's late. I'll go first. That question still hung unanswered between us, but we both understood it. We grew closer, and many times, when work kept me busy, he'd help pick up Larkin. I stretched, finally finishing a recent project. I planned to grab some small cakes and pick up the kids after school. But then the teacher called. Are you Larkin's dad, Brooks? Larkin got into a conflict with some other kids at school. There were minor scratches, but we've treated them. Please don't worry too much. We'd like you to come by so we can discuss what happened and handle it properly. I quickly spoke with the teacher and grabbed my keys to head to the preschool. When I arrived, the teacher led me to the office. There was also a fairly big kid there. To my surprise, Dawson and Malin were also present. As soon as I entered, a parent I didn't know started. Our kid is very well behaved. How could he bully anyone? And this new kid, why didn't his parent come right away? Dawson, holding both kids, with Larkin gently wiping Malin's tears, immediately stiffened. These are both our kids, and there's surveillance. Haven't you already checked it? Larkin ran to hold my hand. Dad! I crouched down to check, just a scratch on the face. Once everyone was present, the teacher explained the conflict. It started because a stronger kid, Miles, took Malin's after snack. Malin was too shy to speak up, but Larkin couldn't stand seeing his friend bullied and confronted him. Miles had a bad temper, grabbed Larkin back, and the teacher had to intervene. Teacher, kids are kids, it was just a snack. Besides, Miles has been here a year with no issues. Miles' parent shot us a glance. I frowned. Larkin had only been there a few months. Was this a subtle way of calling him a troublemaker? Larkin pouted. No. Miles stole it, and stealing is wrong. He also takes other kids' blocks all the time. I knew if it was just one snack, it wouldn't have escalated to calling parents. I comforted Larkin and then addressed the teacher. Teacher, since you invited us, I'm sure you've checked the details between the kids. The teacher nodded and explained further. Surveillance confirmed Miles had repeatedly taken other kids' things. She smiled gently. Miles' mom, don't worry. We aren't scolding him. We just want all the kids to grow better together. With no other choice, Miles' mom reluctantly made him apologize. He did it grudgingly. Larkin huffed, bowed to the teacher in thanks, then took Malin's hand. Malin, let's go. I couldn't help laughing at Larkin's big brother attitude. After a few polite words to the teachers, I looked at Dawson. Shall we go? As we walked out, Larkin hugged Malin and solemnly said, Malin, don't worry. Big brother will protect you from now on. Malin rubbed his red eyes. But I think I'm older than you. Dawson nudged my shoulder. These two, their bond is catching up to ours. I blinked and turned to look at him. And what exactly is our bond? Of course, it was the kind of love that was bound to reignite. But neither Dawson nor I had taken the first step. We were both waiting, maybe for the right moment. Hey! You're here. I'll come down right away. I hung up, packed my things, and left the office. For the past week, Dawson had been coming to pick me up after work. Sometimes we'd go see a movie, or just take a walk. And then we'd pick up the kids from school together. Autumn was gradually setting in, and the air was getting cooler. Dawson handed me a thermos he was carrying. I took it and opened it, red date and white fungus soup. He used to make this for me all the time. I took a sip. It's really good, just like before. A few more sips and I felt warmth spreading through me. I handed the thermos back to him. Dawson took it without a change in expression and drank. And just like that, with the thermos in one hand, he reached for mine with the other. I didn't pull away. I let him hold my hand. Are we eating at home today? Larkin wants to invite Malin to play with his new little car. Dawson smiled. Sure. I'll let my sister know. Then he added, let's go buy groceries first. I recently learned a new dish, want to try it? Alright, let's go. I held his hand as we walked. By the time we finished shopping, it was school dismissal time. Hearing they could play together again, the two kids were grinning from ear to ear. Back home, Larkin handed Malin his little slippers and then led him straight to the bedroom. They'd been over enough times that the shoe rack now held both of their slippers. I smiled helplessly, dragging a bunch of groceries into the kitchen with Dawson. He took over the cooking, so I ended up washing vegetables by the sink. I drained the veggies and set them aside. Dawson reached for them, but his hand landed on mine resting by the sink. He paused, then turned to look at me. What are you staring at? Seeing him hesitate, I withdrew my hand. You're listening to Omegaverse Tales Studio, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue. Dawson blinked, then leaned in closer. I didn't move, his lips brushed mine lightly at the corner. Ah! A sudden squeal came from the kitchen doorway. I turned and saw Larkin covering his eyes. Larkin didn't see anything. He shuffled forward, still covering his eyes, and went to his little fridge to grab a box of cherry tomatoes. I'm just getting some tomatoes for Malin. With that, he ran off with the box. I glanced at Dawson helplessly. He couldn't resist and pecked me several more times. I pushed his face away. Dawson. Brooks, can you love me again? My face heated up, and I wiped the water off his face with my sleeve. You're ridiculous. Love is simple for the two of us. But there's also Larkin. I want our relationship with Larkin to be officially recognized. He's my little treasure, raised with all my love. That weekend, I picked up Larkin and kissed him. Larkin, want to go out? Dad will take you to the amusement park. His eyes lit up. He hugged my face and planted a kiss. Really, Dad? Larkin loves you the most. I put on his favorite Ultraman mini backpack. Then I naturally asked, do you want someone else to come with us? His eyes brightened even more. He finished strapping the backpack and held my hand. Is it Uncle Dawson? I chuckled and nodded. Yes. Dad, wait a sec. Larkin let go of my hand and grabbed a few packs of snacks. Dad, put these in my backpack. They're for Uncle Dawson. Seeing him like this made me happy too. I packed the snacks and headed out with him. Dawson was already waiting at the gate. As soon as Larkin saw him, he ran over. Dawson squatted and scooped him up. Larkin, are you happy to see Uncle? Larkin nodded enthusiastically. Yes. Ha ha ha, good. Uncle will make sure you have fun today. Dawson pinched his chubby cheeks. With Larkin around, the whole walk was full of laughter and chatter. He played to his heart's content, only missing out on a few rides due to age restrictions. Dawson held his hand. Larkin, when you're older, Uncle will take you again. Larkin looked up at him. Uncle, will you always grow up with me? I crouched down to open a water bottle for him. He drank obediently. I patted his head. So, do you want Uncle to always be with you? Without hesitation, Larkin said, yes. Dawson's tense expression softened. He seemed like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. I understood his hesitation. A good uncle and a dad are very different in Larkin's eyes. I was about to speak when Larkin's gaze shifted behind us. He tugged my hand. Dad, I want a cupcake. I looked back. There was a cake shop. Dawson scooped Larkin up. Let's go. Uncle will get you a cupcake. I had no choice but to follow them inside. The staff were very friendly, inviting us to try the new products. They were completely charmed by Larkin's sweet little face. Kids, we have parent and child discounts. Even better for a family of 3. Larkin couldn't help but lick his lips. He hugged Dawson's neck. Daddy, the lady said Larkin can have everything he wants. The moment he said that, both Dawson and I froze. Larkin blinked his big innocent eyes at Dawson. Dawson's reaction was instantaneous. He couldn't hide his smile. All right, Dad will buy it for you. After leaving the cake shop, we headed to the restaurant we had reserved. Larkin stared longingly at the cake. The two of us adults couldn't take our eyes off him either. I pinched his cheek, bringing his attention back to us. Larkin, just now, did you call Dawson Dad? Larkin nodded. Dawson asked, so, Larkin, do you really want me to be your dad? His eyes were clear and earnest. He held both our hands. Yes. Then his small face turned serious. But. I prompted gently, but what? Larkin squeezed Dawson's hand. But Dad has to be good to you, because my favorite will always be you, Dad. Dawson cradled him affectionately. Okay, I love your dad too. Once that conversation with Larkin was done, my heart finally settled. Watching them so close, so tender, felt like pure happiness. Eventually, Dawson moved in with us. Often, Malin stayed over too, and our place slowly became his second home. Seeing the two kids cuddled together watching cartoons, I nudged Dawson with my elbow. You take Malin out everywhere like this, doesn't his mom mind? Dawson wrapped an arm around me, his chin resting in the nook of my neck. She's busy to the point of exhaustion, she actually prefers I take him out. I munched on an orange. What about Malin's dad? He doesn't mind you taking his son around. Dawson sighed. His dad cheated. My sister's busy with the divorce. She doesn't want it to affect Malin. I was briefly shocked, looking at Malin's obedient little face. Dawson kissed me softly. It's fine. My sister's strong and capable, she'll handle it. I didn't pry into the details. Malin was a sweet, well-behaved kid, and I liked him. I grew even more protective of him, and seeing him happy put my mind at ease. Though shy, he always gave me a gentle kiss on the cheek when I held him. I like you. Every time, I couldn't help grinning. Uncle likes you too. I hoped both kids could grow up healthy and happy. It was a hope Dawson and I shared. Then my heat cycle arrived. I woke up with my glands acting up and my body feverish. I called Dad, asking them to pick Larkin up from school and keep him for a few days. Dawson had been on a business trip for 3 days, so I dug out some of his clothes and made a nest on the bed. Even with suppressants, the familiar lemony alpha scent made me feel a little better. I felt overly sensitive, even though I'd managed with suppressants for years. Why was it impossible to resist now? I buried my face in the clothes, trying to draw in the faint pheromones. Some time later, either from exhaustion or discomfort, I opened my eyes to darkness. I frowned and checked my phone. Dad said he had picked up Larkin. And then there were several missed calls and dozens of messages from Dawson. I was about to call him back when he rang. "Hey, what's going on?" I tried to sound normal. Dawson wasn't calm. Clearly, a whole day of no contact had him worried. I rolled into the nest of clothes, my voice muffled. "I'm fine, just tired and fell asleep." I deliberately changed the topic to keep him from worrying. But the more I listened to his voice, the more I wanted him. My glands burned, my body ached, I just wanted him. Dawson sighed. "Baby, can't you just say you need me?" As his words fell, the bedroom door opened. The voice from the headset was right next to me. He pulled me from the pile of clothes and held me gently. The lemony alpha pheromones washed over me, soothing and intoxicating. I instinctively clung to him. "I missed you." Dawson kissed me, fingertips brushing the back of my neck. The soft skin of my glands was hypersensitive, making me shiver. I leaned instinctively into him, inviting him. "Mark me." Dawson brushed aside my damp hair, rubbing my back gently. "It's okay, baby, it'll feel better soon." Then his teeth grazed the sensitive gland. My eyes widened, and the long-deprived glands tingled from the infusion of pheromones. But it wasn't enough, the deprivation made every drop feel too little. My body burned, my head dizzy. I reached to tug at his shirt. Dawson caught my hand, pushing me under the covers. His lips claimed mine, stealing my breath. His fingers traced under my shirt, undoing buttons slowly. My pupils contracted. He sensed it, biting my earlobe. "Baby, you're so sensitive." During my heat cycle, the pull between Dawson and me was uncontrollable. We spent days indulging in each other. The consequence? Exhaustion that left me unconscious for hours. When I finally woke, the room was dim. I had no idea how long I'd slept. Dawson came in, placing a bowl of warm water beside me. Seeing I was awake, he lifted me gently and handed me the water. "Feeling okay?" I shook my head while drinking. Dawson stroked my hair. "Let's eat something first." I nodded. "Okay, after we eat, let's go pick up Larkin." We left the bedroom together. He brought out the warm food and a bowl of red date and white fungus soup for me. "I'll go after you. You rest well." I smiled. "I'm not that fragile. I want to go out a bit too." This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. After a quick meal and tidying up, we got ready to leave. Dawson came out of the bedroom with a scarf in hand. Without a word, he wrapped it around my neck. "It's cold outside. Wear this." I couldn't help smiling, nodding in compliance. I used to hate scarves in winter, he always forced me to wear one. Hand in hand, Dawson and I stepped out. "Let's go pick up our son." Winter was cold, but my heart burned. Larkin saw us and ran over excitedly. "Dad!" Worried I might be tired, Dawson scooped him up. Bundled in thick clothes, Larkin looked even sturdier. I pinched his cheeks. "Have you been eating too much?" Larkin frowned, shaking his head. "No. I'm just wearing a lot. Grandpa insisted I wear 3 layers of pants." He held up his chubby little hand, and we laughed. After a short visit to Dad's, we headed home. We walked slowly. Larkin, having not seen me for days, chattered non-stop, completely happy. Snow began falling. A flake landed on my nose, chilly. Larkin looked at me. "Dad, come closer." Curious, I leaned in. He placed one hand on my cheek, the other on Dawson's. "Dad, my hands are warm. Now the snow doesn't feel cold." I melted from the warmth and kissed his cheek. Dad loves you so much, baby. Larkin giggled. His hands still pressed to our faces. I love you too. This winter might be warmer than any before.